Hi, my name is John Burton. I am the designer of Card-Free American Mah Jongg. This is a version of American Mah Jongg where you don't need to get the card. Now, I will start by saying I actually do have my card. This is the 2024 card. I do enjoy the card a lot. I'm a big fan of American Mah Jongg. However, there are certain things about the card that I find a little problematic, especially for new players. And as a game designer, I saw certain ways that I thought that the game could be played and enjoyed without actually having to have the card. So let me give you a little history about me real quick. I am an independent game designer. I've sold a couple hundred copies of games that I've created, but I'm really actually a fan of classic games, classic card games, and a big fan of Mahjong. I've been playing for a few years, and I got started with Chinese and Japanese style Mahjong, and I really liked them. But then when I was exposed to American Mahjong, after I was a little weirded out by the card, but then once I really learned the gameplay, I really enjoyed it. American Mahjong is definitely my favorite version. You know, I'm a real big fan of the Charleston. I really like the jokers and using quints and singles and, you know, having various patterns on the card that you can find. Like, it's a very creative and there's lots of different ways to do things. So I really like that aspect of American Mahjong. It's, like I said, my favorite version of the game. However, I do think the card can really be a barrier for entry of new players. And even when you're an experienced player, sometimes it can be frustrating to play with. So as a designer, I just started having some ideas on what might be able to work and what my favorite aspects of American Mahjong are. And I thought, let's see if I can create a version that doesn't need the card. And that is what Card-Free American Mahjong is all about. So it's basically... I got a one-page rule set here of how it goes, and it's essentially a system for creating American Mahjong style hands. That it's easy enough to memorize, so you don't even need this once you've played it, and that lets you play all of the rules of American Mahjong while not needing the card. That being said, let me first say I do actually like the card. The card is awesome. I have my 2024 card, and you know, there's a lot about the annual ritual of the American Mahjong card that is super fun. I think, you know, starting in March when everybody's anticipating and waiting for the card, and in April when some people have it and some don't, and social media is blowing up with, you know, do you have your card? Do you have your card? And then, ooh, which hands do you like? Or, oh, I missed these hands from last year. It's a really fun way to like really enliven the community and connect to people, you know, who play. So that aspect is great. And I would never want that to go away. However, let me tell you a couple of the reasons why I think the card from a game design perspective is a little frustrating. So let me first talk about being a new player. You know, when I was a new player and I saw the Mahjong card for the first time, I thought it was pretty weird, to be honest. I've never played a game where you have to not only have a card where you have the winning hands, but you actually have to buy new ones every year. That was definitely strange to me and new, and something that kind of rubbed me the wrong way at first when I thought about it. But I persevered and I bought it and I enjoyed it. But, you know, it was definitely kind of strange to me when I first started, especially nowadays. You know, I think most people are very used to having their games playable out of the box, so to speak. And so for a standard American Mahjong player, if you buy a Mahjong set and they say, great, now you can play if you go buy a card. That's kind of odd, right? So I think as a new player, that can be a barrier. Also, the card itself, when you're first learning the game, is really intimidating and tricky. Not to mention, as most of us know, there's colors on the card that look like they match tiles, but those colors don't actually match the tiles, so that makes it even more difficult to explain. To me, when I first started playing, it almost felt like kind of a chore to go through the card to try to find a hand that may work, and it really wasn't that much fun. Once I started to learn the card and I knew what kind of hands you could build, and I started getting some recognizable, you know, friends on the card that I got used to, it got a lot smoother, and then I really enjoyed it. And I did enjoy the actual types of hands you can make on the card. That's a lot of fun. I really enjoy the variety of cards, especially having come from Chinese and Japanese style where, you know, especially with the patterns, it's essentially a pair and 4 pungs, and that's pretty much all you do. Whereas in American Mahjong, you've got all kinds of variety of different patterns that you can do. The next thing I want to mention is trying to play American Mahjong on a phone. It is just not that awesome to play with a phone and then have the card, and then you got the phone next to the card and you're trying to play and you're looking, and yeah, you can have it. It just does not work for me. So not only do I think about new players, I think about any player who knows the card and knows how to play, but they're not sitting at a desk, at a desktop computer with their card in their hand and they're ready to play. If you're on the go, like me, I'm busy, I'm at work. If I'm taking a 5 to 10 minute break and I want to try to like do a quick game, throw a couple tiles around, then pulling out the card, it just doesn't really work. And then when it comes to actually purchasing an app, that's where I think the card really is a barrier. And I know it was for me. When I first started looking at Mahjong, I looked at American Mah Jongg apps and I downloaded one and it said, okay, which card are you going to use? I'm like, card? Then I realized that I needed to go to like a kind of old-fashioned looking website, the National Mahjong League's website, and order a paper card and it'll come in a few weeks and then I can play my app. That doesn't work. That is a huge barrier to entry nowadays. I mean, the way most games are designed on a phone, like even complex games, you immediately start playing and there's usually a tutorial that lets you, teaches you how to play and you're actually doing stuff while you're playing. And then, within 5 minutes, you know how to do the whole thing and you can play for hours and hours and hours. That's how people expect to play any game that they download from their phone. So why is Mahjong any different? I don't know. I think it would be great if you could at least start playing an American Mahjong app with just the app. And the only way to do that would be either have the cards in the app itself where you can access them and see them, which even just logistically on a small screen would be difficult. But of course, they're copyright material, so even that's not something that they might want to do. So if you have a card-free version, then perhaps, you can have that version, you can learn that version, you can play it on the phone. Then when you want to add a card and play with a card, you could just switch it to card mode. I think that could be fine. As a player myself, I actually find myself playing Hong Kong style Mahjong on an app constantly when I'm at work or like when I'm out, I'm just hanging out. Even though I would rather be playing American Mahjong, I do play Hong Kong style because I can do it on an app. I've memorized the rules. I don't have to look at a card, and it's a fun game. So I would love to take that experience, but actually do the gameplay of American Mahjong. So there's one other aspect I do want to mention, and that's actual gameplay itself. The thing that I really like about American Mahjong, as I've said before, is the kinds of hands you can build are really interesting. There's all sorts of different types of blocks, so pungs, kongs, quints, singles, pairs. There's rules that, you can't use a joker on pairs and singles, and you have the news block and you have the year block, and that stuff is really cool. It's really interesting. If you play other styles of Mahjong, it can feel a little samey over and over again, kind of building the same hands. But American Mahjong is really interesting in that fashion. However, one of the downsides, because it's all card-based, is that there are plenty of times when I'm done with the Charleston and I just know there's nothing in my rack that is going to get me anywhere close to winning. It's just, I have 10 discards and 4 tiles that I can do anything with. And that is frustrating. It's even more frustrating too, is when you have an interesting combination. You've got, say you kept a bunch of 2s, 4s, 6s, and 8s, and you got a lot of them. You've got multiples, but the suits are just a little bit off compared to what's on the card. And so you're lost. And that gets me really frustrated. I think I did my Charleston well. I've got a lot of like numbers or not like numbers, but I've got a lot of numbers in the same category that should play together well. But because this year the suits are a little bit different, I'm out of luck. And there's kind of a hard to transition into any kind of usable hand. That I'm just not a big fan of. I'll be real. I know it's an opportunity for defensive play, but for me, I want at least a chance to win every game. And I know maybe if I'd been playing for 30 years and I really was just breathing Mahjong every day, I wouldn't feel that way about some hands. I'd already know what to do. But there's definitely situations where there's just your hands are hopeless. And I hate that feeling at the beginning of the round. It's one thing to be at the end of the game and, your opponents have a couple exposures out and you don't think you're going to be able to win. So you think, okay, let me play defensively now. What can I get rid of? How can I save the game? That's fun in the last third of the game. That's fun. I don't like feeling that way, like literally like when the Charleston's done and I'm like, well, what's the point? I might as well just call it a dead hand and go have a drink and let the three of them just play, So with Card-Free American Mah Jongg, the way I created it, I do believe almost every hand is winnable. I've been playtesting this a lot and with friends, and I think that's how everyone I've showed the game to feels, is that there is definitely a chance to win every hand because of the flexibility. Now, the caveat to that is it could seem too easy, everybody wins. Nobody has a chance to build a fun hand because there's too many simple hands that you can build. That's why I created the optional rule system. And if you look on the back of the reference card, there's these optional rules that just increase the difficulty of the game in ways that just make it take a little longer to build hands. So that gives everyone at the table a chance to build a more challenging, more unique hand. And any one of these rules are optional and you can add all of them, or you can just add one or two to make the game a little more challenging. So you have a chance to build interesting hands instead of just finding the quickest way to build a quick hand. I kind of got that idea from Hong Kong style Mahjong because there's a points threshold you have to make in order to win a hand, but you can play different thresholds. So you can play a 0 threshold and some of the easiest hands are able to be made, or you play with the traditional 3-point minimum. So if you have that 3-point minimum, you have to craft your hand in a certain way in order to make it a winnable hand. So you have to concentrate on certain things. And that's what I did with the bonus system and the optional rules. So, like I said, I do love the card. I'm never going to stop playing the National Mahjong League card. It's a lot of fun. I love the fun in April when everybody gets their new card and we're all trying to learn it. But I do hope someday that I'm able to connect with a game developer and actually put an app out that would be able to do Card-Free American Mahjong, because I really think it would be a good entryway into the standard American game. If you learn card-free, you learn how to have all the gameplay rules, you learn all of the types of hands you can play. There are many hands that are on the card that are also, you would be able to build in Card-Free Mahjong. I mean, this one right here, here's an example of a hand. This is on the 2024 card. It's, on the 2, 4, 6, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down. That fits the rules of Card-Free American Mahjong, and it's on the card. So there are definitely hands that you could play that work for both. So if you learn card-free, it really wouldn't be that hard to transition into playing with the card. So that's it. That's why I created Card-Free American Mahjong. I hope some people give it a try and let me know what they think. I would love to connect with any of you who are interested in playing. Feel free to email me down below, and I can even try to work with people online, even try to play online, whatever we can do. I'm in New Jersey, and I know there's a lot of Mahjong players here in New Jersey, so if anybody's interested in trying to get a game, I'd be happy to schedule one up. So don't forget to check out the description below. I've got PDF links for the rules. I've got, printable reference cards. I have videos on how to play, and I'm going to be posting more videos, maybe some strategy videos and some in-depth videos on how to build patterns, things like that. So if you want to learn more and you want to connect, feel free to email me. My email's in the description below too. So I hope you have a chance to give Card-Free American Mahjong a try. If you do and you like it, let me know in the comments below, and happy playing.